In this lesson, we're going to talk about Adobe Substance 3D Sampler, and we're going to work with images mainly, because this little software right here can help us to generate materials, PBR materials, so physically based render materials from photos or images, and it can also help us to create 3D models starting from pictures. Now, I'm going to create a new file here, and I'm going to change the language into English. So I'm going to go here to the preferences and switch to American English. And well, you have a lot of preferences here that you can go through. They're quite easy to understand. So I'm not going to spend too much time in here. Now, just to recap, we are in the Substance 3D package in the Substance 3D course, and we already talked about Painter, which is like the more popular and more known and useful probably of the software in Adobe Substance package. And then we went into Stager to create renderings, and then into Modeler to create models. And finally, we are now in the sampler. So we can create models using modeling and sculpting tools, or we can use photogrammetry. So we can create models starting from pictures here in Substance using Substance Sampler. So Sampler is part of the Substance 3D package or suite, and this is the icon right here. So if you want to know more, you can just search for on the web. So well, you can download and install Sampler just like you did with the other tools in Adobe. And you can also use Creative Cloud either online, or you can download the application. And of course, you need to install first the Sampler application before you can actually open it. So download it, install it, and when you're ready, click on open, and it's going to open up the software. So I've already created some files. Let me show you this one here. So right here, I've used a cube as an object, and then I've created some effects using starting image which was a picture I've taken of a wooden floor. And well, actually, I think I downloaded this, but well, working on with different filters here on Sampler, if I deselect, like turn off this filter, you can see the original image. So it's basically post-processing, post-production, starting from an image, and also it's going to use AI, to fix the texture that you downloaded or you perhaps taken yourself. You can see here the seams are pretty visible and the color is not so great. So by using all these filters here, you can little by little adjust, fix the texture so that it becomes seamless without seams and with a better color. And then you adjust the perspective and the tiling, and there it is. So you have like a nice texture. And that's not only the diffuse texture. If we go down here, you can see the normal, the roughness, the metallic. Well, metallic is not generated in this case, but height, ambient occlusion. Well, all these are being generated automatically by Sampler thanks to the AI, artificial intelligence here. So let me just create a new project, and I don't want to save right now. Now let's talk a little bit about the interface before we start. So up here you see we have some menus, and they're pretty simple. And we went before in the preferences again. So if you want to spend some time here, you can figure out like the cache. You can clear the cache so that it's not gonna fill your hard disks. So there's not too much going on in here, not too many things. Now on the toolbar on the left, we can start by getting content. So we can import the content in the layer stack. We can import in the assets right here on the bottom. We can browse 3D assets in the marketplace as we already did before in other occasions. And then we can use the 3D capture beta, which is kind of, well, I think it's experimental. So it's not completely finished, but all these software here are kind of experimental. So they're probably going to evolve more in the future. And so down here, you can crop, adjust the perspective of the texture, transform the texture, and use the clone stamp like in Photoshop. But before, we need to have a texture to work on. Otherwise, you cannot use this. Now here on the right in the project, we can create other materials. So you can see I created another one, which is kind of standard. We can create environmental lights. So basically image baselining like this. And now it also changed the subject here, the 3D model. You can also change it yourself. I'm going to show you. If it doesn't automatically, I want to show you how to do that. And also we are now in 3D and 2D view. So like in Substance Painter, we can go like 3D only, or 2D and 3D, or 2D only, and so on. So and then we can create new 3D capture if you want to import a 3D model based on some pictures that you've taken. Now let's move on and let's go down here. So here we have materials, just like in Substance Painter. So I can click and drag and apply a new material, like spray paint in this case, and I can start to work with this material. And then here I have like different types of visualization, but also we have images, filters that we're gonna apply later, and texture generators if you want to generate textures. So let's do like this as a base color. So this is gonna be applied on top of the spray paint. And you can also go back and you have your libraries, the starter assets, or your assets if you want. Now let's go here in all libraries. Now down here you have viewer settings. So this is where you can adjust a little bit of the view. So you can make something reflective or rough. You can change the texture offset. We don't have a texture yet, but it's all about the tiling, rotation, texture tiling. And then here is where you can change the mesh. You can see down here. So maybe I can select another object, or like apparel design, or products, or like, what's this, a shoe, and so on. And here you can change here the ambient occlusion a little bit, and you can change the environment if you want to do outdoor, indoor, studio. And again, these are pretty similar to what we've seen so far in other application by Substance. You can also load. You can turn off and on the environment visibility, or you can manage the opacity. You can rotate. You can change the intensity, and you can change the, if you want, perspective or orthographic, and the field of view. So everything pretty easy. Now shader, this is where you can set up global settings for the shader. So how many samples, the displacement quality, if you want shadows, which are kind of strange and heavy in this case. So I will not use shadows. You can also turn shadows down here. So these are other like viewport settings. And by the way, this is the navigation, which is basically the same of the other Substance tools. So you keep the Alt key pressed, and then you use the left mouse, the middle mouse, the right mouse to zoom, pan, and orbit. Or you can scroll the scroll wheel if you want to zoom as well. And then you have subsurface scattering if you want, and all these other settings if you want to use them. Now this is the channel settings. So you can see that here I can, well, first of all, I can choose if I want to use the environment, and then the base color, the diffuse. So the normal, if you want to see the normal, the roughness. Well, basically if you want to display all of the channels right here or not. And you see now we are seeing the fill of the texture. So if I turn the fill here, if I click on this little eye, I can turn it off, or I can just delete it. And then I'm going to see the simple spray here, simple spray paint. So I can also click like this and undock the panel, or just close it. Or you can just click here and click again to close it. Now let's go here in this other side. So this is the width and the height of the texture. So if you want to make it like a little bit smaller, here where you can change, this is the full screen mode. Down here you can change the camera field of view again, the displacement. So if you want to use the displacement, increase it or decrease it, and like increase the quality, of course that's gonna impact on your graphic card. Tiling, again, if you, well, now we have a little bit of tiling, so we can see that we can make this smaller or bigger. And then again, we can enable shadows or not, but they're kind of like flickering, so let's keep it off. All right, so we've done already a lot of things here,